Hello good people and welcome back to News Summary, and today we will be discussing about a decision South Africa make that it's about to ban the nation. Alright, my word can be so sarcastic, take away the ban because it looks like it's banning. Alright, so you all know after South African elections last year. Alright, so a lot of people started thinking, did the ANC make a good choice? Because if you had looked at the ANC views and the DA views from even their campaign, what the two of them were campaigning about, they have two different visions. In fact, their paths were almost opposite. And at the end of the day, ANC chose to form a coalition government with them, knowing very well that there are a lot of issues that they claim, one being the land dispute, the Land Appropriate Act, even the BBE that empowers youth. So those things have always been the views of the TA, that those systems should be abolished. Alright, so and a lot more, and that is why this needs to be put in the mind of a lot of people. Was it really the best choice, or do they have another choice that was better than that, being it that the dream was that the country should be fully ruled by the black? Alright, we'll look in depth analysis on why the other parties were not of a match. And again, if you look at, for example, the MK party, which they earlier even declined that they cannot form a coalition government of national unity with the ANC, and they already have a lot of fights among them. Alright, so the third party on the list was still the EFF as well, with a good number, but their views, their border policies, and a lot of things, they were quite on the opposite side, and EFC see more of the entire Africa as a continent unity, and not more interested on the ANC's views. Alright, so looking at this, you could see that it was actually a tough choice, given that ANC, even though they were the first, but they could not form a complete government because they do not own 50% of the majority seats. Alright, so this all become an issue, and given that all other parties that were there have their own issues with the ANC, have their own visions that are totally opposite. So let's just play a game, given that if ANC could have formed a coalition government with EFF and let's say MK, which are all own black parties, did you think that their views could be pushed through? But I believe not, given that it had to do with a lot of selfishness and personal self. Alright, so I do believe that MK, the ANC, they actually make a good choice. But there are things that ought to have been defined before that coalition, and giving their differences. Alright, so where does all this fire that is happening now in South Africa spark? Alright, so you all know the President Cyril Ramaphosa launched the Unity Dialogue Initiative to address some of the issues that bringing down the economic one, being the economic crisis, the security crisis, and even the border crisis, which are few among a lot that are actually bringing down the South African economy. And DA as well was in full support of this, because there are few things that if they can be taken care of, then I think the country economic will be more robust, and the country will actually witness growth. Given all of this, first being corruption. Corruption is one of the most, in fact, it's a poison in South African offices that generally, only in terms of contract department, like you see the TA complaining about the PPE, because when you submit tenders contracts, in fact, it looks like there are people already designed for those contracts. So even at that, it makes even competition very, very difficult. So these are really unresolved issues. So if the issue of corruption can be tackled, which is one of the main issue, that equally pulls away investors. Then the second thing is insecurity. South Africa is graded as one of the most insecure countries in the world. But looking at it, if you want to actually deeper into that statement, they don't define it just in terms of security, but they define it in terms of a country that is not at war, right? Because if we want to do a comparison, like the Sudan, you want to even put countries like the Nigerians, the Cameroon, those are countries that at least some regions have some form of conflict. So obviously the rates of insecurity in those conflict regions are very high. But South African, they are not in any form of conflict. No region is fighting with another region. Neither are they fighting with their numbers. But you look at the rates of murder, people dying from gunshots, from home abuse, and all of that. It's just too much for a country that is not at war. Some days people die in this country compared to a country that is at war, which totally does not make sense. So that is one of the things that actually pushing investors as well. Alright, so these are just the many things among the few coupled with city power, wahala, and the rest. So it was actually a good initiative. And again, there comes another bombshell, which is a problem. Alright, so let me just call it for now, after the coalition government, so they need to put people in power, and so some ministers now have to come from TA, some ministers have to come from ANC, and other parties that were part of the coalition government. And now, given that the president have the sole power to sack a minister if he finds that the minister is not fit for a position, or he goes out of the rule or out of disrespect or whatever, but there are always procedures and reasons to sack someone. Alright, so this was what the president did, and it happened to be one of the ministers appointed within the TA government. And so it already become a big issue that TA already threatened to quit out of the government of national unity. So you can actually see how the power playbook looks like. Because they are the second largest party, and because this is how it is, it means In fact, they are even threatening to imply that the president does not longer have the power to sack a minister, that he feels that he's not qualified for a position or because he breaks a rule. Alright, so if you actually look at that, and in fact, they are even giving ultimatum, equally citing other ministers within the ANC with corruption charges, that they must equally be sacked within 48 hours. Alright, so you could see, let me use a borrowed word, inconcongruity. Imagine the inconcongruity, right? So you could see a smaller party given a president ultimatum to fire a minister. Alright, but you could see the problem is not about them saying that they should fire someone that is corrupt, but you are seeing the linkage. This ultimatum is coming because the president feels he fired somebody that went to US that was not permitted to go. So now it's linking. I personally am a lover of justice. I like things to be in place. I hate corruption, like I hate sin, but we should always try to differentiate things and know when to bring things. Alright, so if this minister was not sacked, it wouldn't be an issue. This ultimatum won't have come up, which should be something that should come up with or without the minister's dismissal. So these are some of the things that happened, and like I said, a lot of favorism and people understanding the way the country is being run. They don't talk, and they want to only talk when there's problem, which that itself already becomes a problem. And if you are new to this channel and you're watching from South Africa, please, I would like you to put down your comment in this comment section below, and just let us know what you think it can be done better, so that South Africa can be a safer place, and what can be done to revive the economic. Thank you for watching. Until I see you in the next episode.